yes, talking live is a little nerve-wracking. I've done radio a few times,
Yeah.
and I think that I've listened to myself now enough with different jobs that I've had, especially like customer care, taking phone calls, and then listening to them and then playing them back for other people and stuff like that, and like grading phone calls and with a room of 15 people and you're taking the call.
Mm. Yeah.
You get over the nervousness pretty quick.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not super great about like talking in front of groups of people either, so it's just like that public speaking overall. Like, I'm okay with a few people, but yeah.
So yeah,
So,
and that's what I would rather talk to, like a group of people
yeah.
than like one-on-one with a stranger.
Oh yeah.
I would rather,
Like right now.
yeah, but I mean, like I know you a little
A
bit.
little bit.
Like I know of you, who you are. Yeah,
I just like reached out and hey, Kenny, remember me?
yeah.
Let's talk about recycling.
Well, and that's what, since you were from Oregon, and Oregon was such a leader in recycling, and you just moved back here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, well, this would be perfect for a podcast
Yeah.
because you're, um, normal with everybody else. Like you're not like a industry expert,
Right.
um, but you have more experience than the average person.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, okay, so we can come in, we can talk about it, and you've seen it in Oregon where they got hit really hard, and then there was some structure,
Mm-hmm.
and so they did try to do the right thing and recycle what they could, and then versus Missouri, we really haven't done
Right.
anything. We canceled the tire recycling program like 2 years ago. We have no solutions for that for the state. Most of the recycling centers, or a lot of the recycling centers here, have closed,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not reopening. The recycling centers that are opening, they're not sending things anywhere.
Right.
So it's like, what are we gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's gonna take each and every individual to make changes in their purchasing habits.
Yeah.
That's gonna force retailers and manufacturers to change their supply habits, and that's how we change the waste stream.
Right.
Recycling is never going to come back like it was because it was a lie.
Right. And recycling is, like kind of the bottom of that list. You want to reduce first and then try to reuse what you have
Right.
as well. And so whereas recycling was, on the forefront of everybody's minds, now this needs to be like, how do we reduce the amount that we use in the first place?
Well, and I think that's because people misunderstood the word recycling.
Right. I agree.
It's a blanket statement. So I've described it in an analogy of recycling is equal to the word baseball.
Okay.
Okay. So if you say, hey, I'm going to recycle this water bottle, that's like, hey, I'm going to go play baseball. So we understand what that means, but
Right.
you can't talk about an individual recycling practice. People just say, I'm going to recycle this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you get into the actual specifics of it, like in a baseball game, so the same thing, baseball is recycling. You can't say, hey, you need to throw this ball to second, or this guy hit a home run. So you can't describe the same lingo. We don't have a lower level to tell you exactly what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a blanket recycling.
Right.
And so a lot of things that people thought were being recycled, it's just because there was not enough words in our language to describe what was happening to these products.
Okay.
Most of what has been collected for the past few years hasn't been recycled.
Mm-hmm.
And even before then, most of it wasn't recycled in the way that I would define recycling. To me, recycling is one old equals one new. So if you recycle, like this glass here,
Mm-hmm.
glass and metal, like your water bottle, they are infinitely recyclable. They never lose value, and that can be a bottle beside your plastic lid
Right.
infinity times. And so can glass. It never loses its value. And so the glass in this cup will make an exact glass like this, of exact quality, and so will your bottle. Plastic is not that same. Plastic devalues every time you run it through a process. Its durability, strength, all of the other things that make plastic valuable as a resource to build things out of decreases. So I always say that plastic isn't recycled, it's decycled. It starts out as a milk jug, then it's going to go to something else, then it's going to end up here, then it's going to be a park bench. And people are like, yeah, but you got that. So we can maybe do that instead of lumber.
Mm-hmm.
And it will last a long time. But then what are we going to do when those items start to deteriorate, break down, or they're just in a spot where we see it all the time. Businesses come in, or cities or whatever, and they redesign an area. So they'll tear down perfectly good buildings,
Right.
and there's going to be plastic and everything else in that. I want to look at it from a total resource stream, and I think that's where my unique view came in, is saying I'm not just a waste hauler.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at recycling and see what we can actually do. What solutions can we actually provide? Not just band-aids, not cover-ups, but real sustainable solutions. And it starts with changing what's in the waste stream.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I would like to hear your experiences like out in Oregon, and then how Oregon did it, and your role, personally, maybe in your house and at your job that you had there,
Okay.
that you got more involved in recycling with, and then kind of what has happened since you've been moved back to Missouri.
Okay. So in my own household back in Oregon, my husband built me a compost bin. So that was one of the things that I did there. Instead of throwing away my food waste, I composted that. And then whenever I first moved out to Oregon, it was similar to what Missouri had with, paper boxes like your cereal boxes, regular cardboard boxes, basically any type of plastic, and the only like steel cans, like your canned goods. The only thing different that they did have there in the beginning was a bottle drop, which
Mm-hmm.
is where you can take your water bottles, soda bottles, um, and you get 10 cents back. It used to be 5 cents, and
Mm-hmm.
then they upped it to 10 cents to create or to increase the initiative for people. So what they would do is they would charge you that they would charge you a bottle deposit at the grocery store, and then you would end up getting that back if you returned your bottles and your cans to those bottle drops.
How did that go over with like the general public?
Um, hmm, when I found out about it, I was all over it, and I would save up. Like there was one time I took my cans and bottles and like even somebody else's, and I got $20 back within like 15 minutes of putting stuff in. So I mean that's a lot. That's like
Right.
200, but that was, hey, you got $20 back now, and even some of it wasn't even my own because I was taking it from other people, but
Like, did
just
people
taking their stuff, because that was one thing that people were like, oh, it's not worth my time to go do that. And it's like, sometimes that's frustrating because it's like, what is it going to take to get you to do this? They're going to give you money back,
Right.
and it's still not worth your time. But I mean, there was quite a few people that would do it. Whenever I go there, it was pretty busy. Um, so
But people didn't complain about the price increase at the store.
no, no, not that I heard of.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
because
like,
it was increased getting it back. So I guess,
and that was fine because it was yours if you just returned it.
right.
Yeah, because that is something that a lot of people talk about, especially here, um, is that people just complain if things go up a half a cent.
Yeah.
You know, um, and I think that we just have more people that don't have the disposable income. In our market, just the more rural area.
Well, I know that there was an option that they talked about, especially whenever they broke it down and said, okay, these are the, few things that we will accept now. When at that time there was discussion about charging for recycling pickup, because then they felt like the consumer would be more responsible about it, but people did not want to do that. They didn't want to pay for their recycling on top of their, trash
Right.
pickup. And so, I mean, there was that kind of going on, but
And so,
I don't know.
we've seen that here
Hmm.
with, we brought recycling back a couple of years ago because we were told even though China stopped accepting it, there was going to be alternatives. So we did it in 2017 until 2018,
Right.
and then we had to cancel because the transfer station we took it to canceled their program because the sorting center that they went to closed, and they weren't really interested in, I guess, finding an alternative or whatever else. So there is basically no recycling in this county right now,
Hmm.
other than what Republic is picking up from residential stops. And now Republic did have the contract with the city of Farmington, um, but that's going away. From what I understand, Republic really wanted
Mm.
to raise the price on that. There's a lot of contaminants, which there are. It was a complete unsupervised location.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so people just take trash anywhere, and they can drop it off. I know that's just a problem with like apartment buildings. Like when we have contracts with apartment buildings,
Mm.
we have to say, hey, you really need to watch, what you have, because we just picked up 4 mattresses and all this other stuff,
Mm.
and then they put up like security cameras and they can watch. And basically, if there's an unattended dumpster and
Mm-hmm.
people know it's unattended, instead of paying $25 a month or whatever it is for trash service, they will go drive around town, find a dumpster they can throw their stuff in,
Mm-hmm.
and then leave. And so, especially at apartment buildings where people pull up in their vehicle anyway to throw out their trash,
Right.
any vehicle can pull in, and who's the authority? Nobody's watching. Nobody knows everybody's vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not being monitored at all. And now it's just filling up with a bunch of other stuff that should have never been in there.
Right.
But that's just something that you have to watch. There are solutions,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I think that it's going to take mostly education of the consumer. Let them know what is recyclable, and we have to build markets for them.
Right.
We have to find manufacturers that will commit to buying the material. And the closer we get that to where the material is actually being collected at, so if, we're in Farmington right now, if Farmington had an industrial park, so like, um, if there is a plastic manufacturer here, and if I could collect plastic and take it to them and they could recycle it and make new products out of it, that's the ideal situation.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get away from the idea that we just want it to leave our house and we don't
Right.
really care what happens to it, because
Mm-hmm.
what that developed was the cheapest option was to collect it, send it to a recycling center, which was really only ever a sorting center. They just sorted the different materials into categories, baled them,
Right.
and then shipped them to a coast. Then once they got to a coast, they put on barges and left for a different country, and then they
Mm-hmm.
were left to recycle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that everybody needs to be more responsible. And that's one of the reasons that I haven't put out any type of initiative or anything else, because I can pick up recycling right now and take it to a recycling center,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't get confirmation that they're recycling it.
Right.
I cannot confirm or track the material. Where's this stuff going once I bring it to you?
Right.
What are you doing with it? Where's it going? And until I get those answers back, I don't want to invest in any, like I said, Band-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that's what, like, I got some of these papers here, some people that I have found
Mm-hmm.
that they're local, and they can take plastic and they're making some things out of them. So they can take a pretty wide range of plastics, and then they're making fence posts, sign posts, landscaping timbers, retaining walls, those things out of plastic. So this is a really great thing if we can tie this in together. I can start my collection or create a drop-off point here or work with the city or something, and then we can send our plastics to this local individual who's actually making things out of them. That's the type of like recycling solutions that I want to find
Mm-hmm.
and give to our customers.
Yeah. That's awesome that it is local like that too. So, it's being returned to the area as well, and it's helping out that local guy
Right.
business. And so, yeah, just kind of goes, I guess, in a circle there.
So,
Um,
tell me about the Oregon. What happened at the job that you had? Like we were talking a little bit ago.
yeah, so I kind of just started watching the recycling that we were doing within the spa there and seeing what the girls were putting in. And I would actually go through and see, what wasn't acceptable, even for those standards at the time. And then early last year, 2018, I, had found out that they were, going to start limiting what was acceptable. And so I created, like, I got one of these because this was our service provider, and I put that up above our little recycling station that we had. And, I just would put things in there, I would check and be like, okay, and I would continue to go through and see things that were not recyclable, like
Right.
these cups with the straws and the lids. And I'm like, who's doing this? And so if there was somebody sitting right there, because that was kind of like our break room, I'm like, this isn't recyclable. Like, and so I would do it in a fun way because I cared about these girls too, but I was like, they all, teased me about my passion for recycling. But, I just tried to spread awareness to them. And like, whenever I learned about like with the China thing, which was a big thing last year, I told these girls, this is why, this is what's been happening. And then they said no more. And so we didn't have any resources to recycle these recyclable items.
Hmm.
And so now we're kind of at a standstill. We can't, um, these are the only things right now that we do have centers that are taking these materials. And that even got to a point where they became so full that they couldn't take any more at that time. And I know in Eugene, Oregon, which was a couple hours from where I lived, they were stockpiling it. There was a particular person who was just like, keeping it there until he could find the solution. Kind of, I guess, what we were talking about, where
Hmm.
some of these recycling centers right now are just holding it. But they just limited it down to where you can only take these things. So, I just try to tell the girls, this is, don't use styrofoam. Try to, bring your own bottle and use reusable bags. I'm a big reusable bag
Hmm.
person, or I'll say no to bags if I just have a few items. And so I just would try to educate them and create awareness because, those were the girls that were like, I just didn't think about it. Once it was, outside of my world, I just didn't think about what happened to it. It's not so much that they are careless individuals. They just didn't think about it. They were thinking about what was going on in their own lives and what their use was out of it.
And that's pretty much what everybody does.
Right. And it's like, so it's no, but it's not anybody's evil or anything like that. It's just like we need to be more responsible with ourselves and our own lives. And so when it does go out, that it's not as much.
Yeah, because it's not hard to make a couple of changes. Because I'm with you on like the reusable shopping bags.
Hmm.
You can fit a lot more, and I kind of like it
For
when I go to the
sure.
grocery store, especially if I'm only getting a couple of things, because I can just put it in my bag instead of getting a cart or a basket,
Right.
and then just
Hmm.
take it up and then check it out that way.
Hmm.
Um, uh, but I definitely feel like when you start to have things like your water bottle, I notice all your stickers on it. My water bottle looks the same.
Yeah.
It's got stickers from Colorado, Yellowstone, different hikes I've went to or been a part of, different things that I've done
Hmm.
with this water bottle. I've had it for a few years. I got it right before I went to a cob school, natural building. So I went for a week down to Kentucky, and I learned how to build houses out of cob, mud, straw, sand, all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So you can learn how to build,
Yeah.
natural houses. And so I bought a few things kind of for that trip because there was no facilities to use. You just had to like camp on the ground, and that was it.
Hmm.
Um, which is fine. I like to go camping, but usually you have, some resources or
Right.
something, but there's nothing. So it's like, okay. Um, and we're there for a whole week. So it's not like, like growing up, my family would always buy like the disposable forks,
Right.
and take that stuff. And then as I go, became an adult myself, I was like, okay, we gotta switch that. That seems really silly. Like
Hmm.
there's four of us. Like let's just wash the four
Hmm.
forks. Like let's
Hmm.
just do that rather than all this whole other process.
Right.
And there's a really funny thing I've seen online that it talks about how lazy our society has gotten when we think it is easier to mine for oil, send the oil to a refinery, then send it to a molding company to mold a plastic spoon that then sends it and package it to a box, sends it to a retail store. Then we go to work, make money, go to a retail store, buy this, take it to wherever we're going camping, and then
Hmm.
throw it away, and then take the trash to a dumpster or trash can, and then throw it in there.
Right.
We did all of that work instead of just like rinsing it with some soap and water.
Hmm.
It doesn't seem very useful as a species, I guess,
Hmm.
to use our resources and so inefficient.
Hmm.
So I actually, from that trip, I still have a fork and knife metal set that folds together in camps, and I've used it since then. And that was in 2016. So I still have it from that. And then my water bottle now I've had since 2016.
Hmm.
And I use those things at least a few times a week.
Right.
It,
Yeah. I mean, I don't go anywhere without my water bottle because and I've gotten into the habit of it too.
Mhm.
I just It goes with me everywhere I go.
I carry mine into restaurants without realizing it. I'm like, oh, I don't need this.
I haven't gotten to that point, I guess. But like, if I'm if we're gonna pull through a drive-through and get some food, or if I go inside, I rarely get a drink, and they'll even tell me. If, I mean, this is extreme, but if it like comes with a drink, I'm like, I don't want a drink. I don't need it.
Right.
I've got my drink, and I drink water almost exclusively, so I don't like need soda. Want the soda that I guess they would offer me. But I mean, if you like soda, you can always just bring it from your house too,
Hmm.
that way. But I mean that, or if I'm gonna have coffee, I just make it from home. Generally, it's a treat if I ever go and get it somewhere else. Um,
And then I got a reusable coffee cup.
yeah.
I was a big coffee drinker. Like every day I would have a cup of coffee. And I would either make it at home or here,
Mhm.
or I would stop at the coffee shop and get one. And so I just started carrying it in my backpack. I carry a backpack with me. Basically everywhere has my
Mhm.
laptop in it, so I can run my company from anywhere.
Right.
And then I have like a pouch that has my silverware and stuff like that in it. And then on each, pocket on the side of it, one has a coffee cup and one has a water bottle. And that's
Nice.
just it. So
Yeah.
that I can have my coffee or my water, whichever one I want.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I have a couple of, you accumulate things over
Hmm.
time, but I'm just like, have several different coffee cups and like, oh, you need one? Here you go. Here, I got this, like, or if somebody's at my house, well, I need to stop and get a water. I'm like, hey, I got you a water bottle right here. We're good.
Yeah, exactly.
And then like, of course, I don't get the 24 pack of water bottles. Like, I mean, I literally cringe when I see people walking around the grocery stores with those. I'm like, oh God,
Why
no.
would you do that?
But I mean, I do feel like I used to have well water in Oregon, and it was delicious. But I don't have well water anymore. I have city water, so I have a filter. One of those. Um, what's it called?
Like a Berta or
Yeah, like a Brita. Yeah, it's
Brita.
just like So you do have to fill it up. You have to kind of keep up on it, and then you might have to wait a few minutes while your water filters. But I try. It's worth it to me to do that, and then I have the good drinking water if you don't like your tap water.
Yeah, and that's the
Um,
same problem because most tap water is not any good.
right.
Um,
Put all that stuff in there.
yeah. Well, and that I'll touch back on tap water in a second. But in my house, we actually use um, a 2.5 gallon or 5 gallon water tank.
Okay.
Um, so I get them from normal grocery stores. You can take them in and refill them at some of them,
Mhm.
and then that just sets on a porcelain water dispenser that sets on a stand. So it's a
Mhm.
wooden stand, porcelain dispenser with a water jug on top of it. It's not chilled or anything else. I drink my water at room temperature,
Yeah.
which is not hard to adjust to. I think most people are spoiled with cold drinks. I know I definitely was like growing up.
Mhm.
And then once I started drinking water at just whatever temperature my bottle was, I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
this is better. This
Mhm.
is it's actually easier to. It doesn't. It's easier to digest, and it doesn't hurt your teeth or your
Yeah.
mouth or anything else.
Yeah. I don't like super cold water either. Like my house is like at 70 something degrees right now. It's kind of warm, so I'll put a couple cubes in there
Yeah.
just to cool it down a little bit. But I don't like refrigerator. I have had to take my container out of the refrigerator just because I don't like it's too cold in there. Like I don't like that.
I'm with you. Once I switched to the water bottle, like I had to get rid of the cold. But
Mhm.
before that, you know, like definitely growing up, there might be the drawer at the bottom of the fridge or
Mhm.
something. Here's a case of water that's in here. You grab it and
Mhm.
chug the whole thing, and you throw it away. And that's one of the things that really bothers me is I watch all of these materials, um, and they're used for like seconds,
Yeah.
and that's it. We were talking earlier about like gifts and
Mhm.
gift paper, and that you like reuse wrapping paper and the bows and things like that.
Mhm.
But that is one of the a few years ago. My son's 6 years old, so it was like Christmas isn't crazy until you have kids,
Mhm.
and then it gets wild. So when um, when I guess he was probably about 2, 3, something like that, and it was just like Christmas morning. There's stuff everywhere, and I'm just like, man, this wrapping paper,
Mhm.
like it benefited us for 30 seconds, and I,
Right.
and I just watched, and so there's a big gathering of family. It wasn't just us, and it was like the kids tear open all the gifts, and so that's a big deal. So you use the
Mhm.
wrapping paper for the surprise effect.
Right.
But then as soon as the toys are open, you usually have a couple adults going around with trash bags.
Right.
And it's just like, you can't wait to get rid of this stuff.
Yeah.
You worked really, really hard to be able to buy this and surprise your kids with it. That lasted 3.5 seconds. And now you can't wait to get this stuff out of your house. And that's the packaging that all that stuff came with, which is more than what you actually bought. You bought more packaging than useful material. And then most of those toys or whatever you ended up buying will be gone because nothing's made to last. So
Right.
before next Christmas, these things will be in the trash. So, but especially like the wrapping paper, I was just like, it just clicked for me. And I was like, we use this stuff for 30 seconds max. And it goes from such a benefit and blessing. And, it's hard to beat a Christmas tree with presents underneath
Right.
it for like that look and aesthetic. Unwrap presents and just leave a living room filled with wrapping paper, and it's the most cluttered mess you've ever seen. And everybody goes into instant cleanup mode. Like, we got to get this stuff out of here. And then you just throw it away. And it's just, what are we doing? Why did we do this?
Yep. I know. Like, and you were kind of talking about like the plastic forks earlier, or like paper plates.
Right.
We used to use paper plates growing up all the time, and that was really easy with a household with children and, several people. But now it's like you think about all those plates, and like even like I've never used the styrofoam plates, hardly ever. I'm like, "Ugh." But we did have paper plates, and we used those growing up and didn't think anything about it. And so now I think about it, I'm like, oh my god, like how many
Where are
plates
those
did
plates?
we? Yeah, where are all those plates right now?
I could probably go here to the moon.
But like even like the plastic, forks and spoons and knives and stuff. And so, I mean, at home, I use, either my glass plates, or I do have some plastic plates, of course, that I can reuse and just wash them, and then just my regular silverware. But I had a baby shower last year, and I wanted to buy the cutlery and like the plates and stuff because I wanted them to be like sustainable product. And I ordered the bamboo
Okay.
forks and stuff, so you can actually reuse them. And then like I keep them, for any of those purposes where I have a ton of people. If that's what I want to do it. If I do throw it away, it's not, at least I guess, plastic.
Right.
But you might even be able to compost it. I don't know. I haven't checked into
A
that.
lot of those things you can, and they're becoming more and more popular. So I was I try to go to like the big waste show every year. It's just the Waste Expo.
Okay.
It usually bounces between Las Vegas or New Orleans every year. Last year was in Las Vegas, so I was there, and these people, they make all of that stuff, and I've seen it for the past few years, and have tried to find some stuff that I really like. So there's some people over in there's a special plant. It grows in a special part of Asia. I don't remember exactly where, but they use this plant for the leaves, and then they make plates and silverware and things like that out of the leaves of this plant. So it's fully compostable, and you can actually, because I bought some for a stack, and we've used them here for barbecues and a few different places. You can actually clean them a little bit, run them under a little water, a little soap, rinse them off, and clean them and use them 3, 4, 5 times. So that was a good option. But last year I found some people that were making some things out of like corn husk, coffee beans. They were actually making coffee cups out of, I think, recycled paper, something like that, with a good lining that wasn't plastic, so it was compostable. And then the lid, instead of plastic, because that's been the big issue with coffee cups, is we have this really convenient plastic lid that fits. How can we make this out of something else? And they were actually making them out of coffee grounds.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, this is great. And especially with like my buddy here that has a coffee shop, his family.
Yeah.
I was like, let's partner like together. I got these guys, they got a couple locations, let's get these in, and then we can start moving forward with this. And they're like, yeah, well, we're not selling to America. And there's not enough people interested. So we sell everywhere else in the world. But leading recycling technology stays away from America because there's just not enough interest in it.
Yeah.
And so, like, I go to these shows, and that's actually what this is. This is a brochure from a recycling company. They're an energy company.
Hmm.
They take uh, tires and hard to recycle plastics, and they create um, energy out of it. And the machine, what it does is it's not like an incinerator, so it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't burn the stuff. Um, I don't have all the extreme details of it, but basically it heats it up and captures different types of gas off of it. And it uses natural gas that it collects, methane gas, natural gas, and another one. And that's actually what powers the machine. So it creates its own fuel. Then the plastic, what it does is, and how it creates value back out of that, is it captures the oil. Everything's oil based in those things.
Mm-hmm.
So tires, shingles, plastics, all of that, it all comes from oil that we harvest from the ground. The oil is very, very valuable. Well, what this machine is doing is it's taking it and turning it into a fuel that we can use. And you mix one other additive with it, and you actually can turn it back into diesel fuel. So I've been looking at this and looking at what we can do. And now I've reached out to another company. These people are in Canada, and they're installing their machine in Canada right now. They have, I think, 13 other machines in like Africa, in India, in different places like that. So I actually had to send them some samples of some material I had to see how well it performed and how much diesel fuel it has and things like that in it. And I had to send it all the way to India
Mm-hmm.
just to get a test done. And so they're in, they're building their first machine in North America. It's in Canada. It'll be done this fall. They've invited me up to come take a look and tour that facility. And what I'm looking at now is trying to find partners locally that we can install this machine here and divert hard to recycle plastics into this, create diesel fuel, and we can give it back to partners, counties. We can have this good quality, sustainable fuel available for our area.
It's awesome. That would be so cool.
Right.
Yeah.
And so to me, I'm taking this plastic that, is not really recyclable from any other term,
Mm-hmm.
and I am creating the value back out of it. I'm not devaluing it. I'm increasing it because we're creating fuel, which is more worth more
Mm-hmm.
than just a plastic bottle.
Right.
So, and there's more of a demand and a need for it. And so to me, that's what we need to do with definitely the hard to recycle plastics while they still exist in the waste stream, but we need to reduce that um, and go from there.
Yeah, because I mean that's not going to go away anytime soon.
Right.
So you might as well use it while you can.
And
You
get as
know.
much benefit out of it.
Right.
And, you know, I'm not completely against plastics. I definitely think like hospitals,
Mm.
they benefit, and our medical advancements due to plastic are huge.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm for that, obviously. Like
Right.
even if you have to like wrap everything in a surgery room or whatever, and then take it out just so that it's clean and sterile and people aren't
Mm-hmm.
dying, that's worthwhile.
For sure.
But there's no reason at McDonald's that we have to do that, or
Mm-hmm.
at a small little restaurant, or at a school, or anything else, or here in my office.
Right.
Make sure that we are using reusable material and we're not using stuff just to throw it away.
Right. Well, I mean, just kind of talking about that, like things that we can do away with that are plastic right now. Like Hawaii, I believe they banned plastic bags. So in your grocery stores or anywhere you would buy something, you can't have a plastic bag. And then something that I started seeing in Oregon, a lot of takeout boxes are like the compost. They're kind of like that, like
Hmm.
paper mache look, I guess you would say, like instead of plastic or styrofoam. And so I was starting to see those there, or even just like little like like paperboard boxes and things like.
Yeah,
Uh,
styrofoam is being outlawed in a few states in the
mhm.
United States,
Awesome.
but then a bunch of countries have outlawed single-use plastics
Yeah.
and um, styrofoam. And I believe Canada just did a big thing, like by 2023 or
Yeah.
something. They got a couple of years and no more single-use plastic. So there will not be a water bottle.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it just won't happen. Your candy wrappers will not, your candy will not come in that
Mhm.
single-use packaging anymore.
Right.
And these manufacturers are going to have to find alternative packaging, which there's
Mm-hmm.
options out there.
Right.
And that's what a loop, the it's it's LOOP,
Yeah, I
but
would
then
like to look
something
it
else,
up.
loop store.
Loop
I
store.
think that's what it's called. So that's um, a branch of TerraCycle.
Okay.
TerraCycle is a company that does hard to recycle items in Canada. So they take food wrappers, um, a bunch of different stuff that
Mm-hmm.
is doesn't fit any recycling model, and they've found ways to recycle it somehow, some way.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've actually just launched this with quite a few manufacturers and retailers and UPS. They're all partners in this. And what it is they ship you a reusable box. It's got a lock on it, and um, it has you can order things like deodorant, laundry detergent, toothpaste, juices, ice cream, and it's all in there in its metal container. And so the containers are completely reusable. And so when you order this stuff, you get your shipment in. Your box is there, so you save your box. You take your
Mm-hmm.
empties, you put them back in there, and you
Mm.
ship them back. And they even have an automated practice that whatever you ship back, they ship back to you full. So if you ship them, your shampoo bottles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they're empty when they get there, they
Mm-hmm.
clean those bottles and then ship you back new ones. So that's just it. And
Mm-hmm.
UPS delivers everything and does that, and it's 100% sustainable. And I think that that's where we'll start seeing a lot of change
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much less waste generated that as soon as this demand for recycling turns into responsibility of the individual,
Right.
because nobody's going to give you a solution no matter how hard you look, because these items are not recyclable.
Mm-hmm.
You have to put better items to send off for recycling.
Mm-hmm.
That where you're going to start seeing more and more of these things coming in. With everybody's going to have a loop box or a comparable outside of
Right.
their house, and that's how you're going to buy groceries. We're going to see more zero waste stores actually in place where you can actually go shopping and take in your Tupperware, take in your glass
Right.
containers,
Mm-hmm.
fill up your cereal. Like, don't give me a box and a bag just because you had to ship it from who knows where.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just go in here and then dump out like a vat.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just fill up my own container. This is my cereal container.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just fill that up and then I'm out.
There were a few grocery stores in Oregon as well that offered that. They would have, large containers of different cereals or mixed nuts or
Mm-hmm.
even some candy. And you could, of course, you could put it in a bag right there if you wanted to, but they were acceptable of like bringing in your own glass containers and, bringing it that way too. You could do that. Um,
And that sounds like a hassle, maybe, for people listening that have never done that.
yeah.
But honestly, you build kind of more of a connection with that. You know when stuff's being more low, or like you're more aware when you start running out of stuff and what it's going to take to
Mm-hmm.
go get more of it. You don't just
Right.
stop on the way home and pick something up because you don't have it there.
Right.
You have to plan for certain things, and once you make those adjustments and get used to it, it's not difficult.
Right. Well, that's like with me with the bags. It's probably been about 7 years ago that I started using bags, reusable bags, and I didn't always remember in the beginning, but I made it a habit. It was something that was important to me, and so now I very rarely forget, or I always have a couple in my car
Right.
just in case. And I even, then branched out to if I'm going clothing shopping or if I'm going to go for, household whatever. If I'd go to like, I love TJ Maxx or something like that. I am always bringing my bag with me, and that's just become a habit for me. I don't even think about it, like my water bottle. And then for myself as well, probably a way that help myself reduce waste is I only buy what I need at the grocery store. Like per week, it's like, okay, what are these things that I need rather than stockpiling and then it expires or something like that, or buying this and that, and then I end up not using it because I've had so many options at home.
And I think we've all done that where you just go in and you go to the store and you buy what you think you want,
Mm-hmm.
and then you try to plan your meals out of what you have at home.
Mm-hmm.
And
It doesn't always work out because if it's like, oh, I don't have this ingredient, I don't have this ingredient. And if you end up going back, then you end up getting more stuff too.
Exactly. Or you don't have,
Or you don't even end up making it. You're just like, oh, I'll just order takeout or we'll just go pick something up.
because you don't have the time. And
Mm-hmm.
then so you let, 8 tenths of the recipe expire because you didn't have 2 tenths.
Right.
And so that's actually something we've started doing in our house is now Courtney and her, I don't really do it. I do love cooking, and I will go to the grocery store, but she makes the meal plan
Right.
basically for the week. So every night we know what we're having for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
We have the ingredients. We might go to the store twice a week,
Mm-hmm.
but that's it. So we make that meal plan, and that way we know what we have, and then we plan leftovers the next day if we
Right.
have some or whatever, or we cook just enough for dinner.
Mm-hmm. I like leftovers a lot myself. My husband, it's kind of like he doesn't think about them. And so if I heat them up for him, then he'll eat them, but he just doesn't think that, oh,
Right.
hey, there's food in there. He'll just sit there and starve until I get home. You know, like it's right there. But I love eating leftovers because then that's less time that I have to spend cooking.
Yeah.
And so generally, I will make, like I made chicken curry last week. I had like 5, 6 meals out of that. I'm like, okay. And then like or red beans and rice, or we grilled a bunch of chicken the other night. So now we're eating chicken for a few days. I made a big bowl of broccoli cheese soup, and we're having,
Yeah, see,
that's
those
like
things are better
leftovers.
leftover.
Yeah, yeah, they can be. I know the chicken curry. Like that was so good. I was so good. It was like a treat every day that I had that. And then actually, my sister brought me some pot roast that she made, and that's something I'm going to try to make maybe next week. But it was so good, and I think it probably was better the next day.
I,
I
I
don't
think
know,
some of those
sits the
things are when they
juices.
mix. They mix
Mhm.
and they just kind of absorb everything. The
Mhm.
soups and the roast, and
Mhm.
I even like chicken wings, like hot wings.
Mhm.
If
Yeah.
I make them at home, like the next day, it's like it lets the sauce soak into the meat maybe a little bit.
Mhm.
Or I'll even do like if we grill, so we might grill something, and then I'll make like chicken.
Mhm.
So we make these tacos. I kind of have a my own style of taco
Mhm.
that I've kind of modeled after a few different experiences that I have. So like I'll take whatever meat, chicken, pork, or whatever, and then like cook it on the grill, and then put like strawberries, peppers, tomatoes, just all kinds of like vegetables, apples. Like these things are amazing on a
Mm.
taco meat. I use corn tortillas and heat them up on the grill and stuff.
Yeah.
So like if we're grilling burgers or something, I'll go ahead and grill the chicken or maybe a couple other kinds of meat. And then the next night we'll make these tacos with it, and the meat's already cooked. So I just got
Mhm.
to cut up some fruits and vegetables, and
Right.
then we're done.
That sounds very tasty. I mean,
It's
like
amazing.
it's interesting. Like there's been time I've made like a chicken dish where it's like a roast and you put the apples in there. Like 'cause, I
Hmm.
don't know, that just struck me when you said that, and it was so good. Like with apple potato in the chicken, and then I that was again something that I could eat on. I take it to lunch for work, and that was it. Just got better with time.
I
It
mean,
was
that's
so
true.
good,
I like my own cooking more than most places you can
right?
go
And
buy
that's
it
it.
at.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'm like, oh my god, like this would be so cheap for me to make. I'm like, I really like this. That's how, like I started making this particular chicken dish, and I'm like, you know what, I can make this at home, and I can make it better because it's cheaper for one thing.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm pretty partial to my own cooking, and I just would rather do that most of the time
What
than
about
like a cheeseburger from somewhere.
exactly? Shopping. That's something that has always been. I know that where you buy your stuff from can impact the waste and the environmental cost of it
Mm,
significantly.
okay.
So I try to hit up farmers market every week. So we have a
Mm,
farmers market here on Wednesdays and on Saturdays. So I try to go shopping there and buy as much like fruits and vegetables and things like that as we can.
mm-hmm,
Um, for one, you're helping directly to a farmer, and
mm-hmm,
I love cutting out middlemen.
right.
Um, and it's a more sustainable practice. These things were grown, brought here, so most of them were grown within 20 miles of where I'm buying them,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm consuming them 3 miles from where I'm buying them.
Right.
So I mean, this food is not traveling halfway around the world to get to me. It's never been on a boat. It's never been on a truck.
Mhm.
Um, as cargo or shipping, it was never in a cart. It was never in a cardboard box wrapped in plastic or in a climate controlled area, because all of that is the environmental taxing part of it.
Mhm.
So the more I can buy direct from farmers or producers or grow my own. So like right outside my kitchen, my the door that goes outside out of our kitchen, like 3 feet outside of there, we have fresh tomatoes and fresh cucumber that are growing and
Mhm.
trellising right up. And
Mhm.
so like these are beautiful. We have chickens in the backyard that we take our food waste to. So it's just like the small little system,
Mhm.
just that little bit has cut down waste, significantly.
Mhm.
Um, but those are all the things that I really like. And we do live in a place that has a lot of farms that you can go shopping at and
Mm.
purchase things.
Mhm.
And so that's a personal thing that I'm trying to improve on
Right.
is where am I purchasing, where am I spending my money, and trying to buy things that weren't shipped and that weren't packaged, and I'm handing, cash directly to the person that grew it. Usually everything's cheaper that way also.
Yeah. And again, Oregon, we lived in the country there, and there were some farm stands. There was this one I loved to go to, and it was just always fun to see like what they had new, because I mean, they would be open just about all year because they had greenhouses, and so you could buy just about anything there all year round. And of course, you did have a few items that were like special for the season. But I if I knew that they had what I wanted there, I would go there. Or I had a lady I would stop and get chicken eggs from her
Hmm.
on my way home. And so coming back here, it's just been an adjustment just for me because I have to kind of like relearn that habit again because for a while, um, we lived in an area where that wasn't accessible right there. And so I got used to going to the store all the time again.
Hmm.
And so now I do have to rethink that. Like my mom has chickens, so I used to get chicken eggs from her all the time. And sometimes I still do. And like, I just need to look like where I live now in Crystal City. Like I need to find those people that are selling the eggs again. Cause I have seen a few of them. It's like, I need to remember to go and do that. And I do need to go visit the farmer's market there. Cause I haven't done that yet since I've moved there back in June.
But that's
Um,
cool that you still have all of those things that that you can make a little bit better of an increase in what you're
mhm.
doing, and what you're consuming and your impact.
And I had a vegetable garden the past 2 years, 3 years, 3 years, and like how long ago? And so oh my god, I loved having my own garden, and I would grow tomatoes, and the cucumbers would go crazy, and zucchini,
Hmm.
and potatoes, and so those were kind of like my main staples. I think I grew jalapenos at one point, and broccoli and strawberries. Sorry.
Did broccoli work?
It at first it didn't, and then it took off. And it was kind of odd. It was like a little bit different broccoli. You know, you get used to broccoli from the store, and it was different. I can't say I loved it, but I would try it again.
Because we
And
can't get broccoli to grow here, and I've been
yeah,
told it's very difficult or almost impossible to
I
grow in
did get
Missouri.
it to grow it in there. So at first, because it's not supposed to like heat.
Hmm.
Like you want to grow it in the early part of the spring. And I planted it and it really didn't do anything for a long time, but then it took off and it produced all summer there
Wow.
last year. What was it, 2018? Yeah. And I was really surprised that it did that because it does get really hot in Oregon. It's just a much drier climate than it is in Missouri. And I had green leaf lettuce
Hmm.
that I had way too much lettuce. Like it was just coming out of my ears.
I always
Um,
have too much lettuce. You don't
it's
like
like,
you don't plant any of it, and then it's like this multiplied by 800%, and there's way too
well, and then
much.
you can just cut it and it just comes right back. And you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do with all this lettuce? Like, and the same thing with the cucumbers. Like I made pickles. But I'd bring cucumbers to the girls at work or, maybe some tomatoes. I made pasta sauce uh, occasionally. And then I had so many zucchinis as well. I made a lot of chocolate zucchini bread and like these little zucchini pizzas. So they were really good. But I really miss having a garden this year, and so I'm planning on definitely making a space for my garden next year. It's just I had the baby, we were moving. I
A
was
lot
like,
of
it's
stuff
too
going on.
much right now, but
Yeah.
I miss it so much because it was like, oh, I'm just gonna go out to my garden and get my few vegetables that I'm going to make for our dinner tonight, and or I would make that sauce, and it was like more. It was special to me because I'm like, hey, I grew
Well, you
this.
grew it. You made it.
Yeah.
It's yours.
So I definitely want to do that this coming year, and then just yeah, just like you said, get back to doing the farmers market and being more sensible, like conscious that this is from my area.
Right. No, I
People, just trying to do, trying to bring it in a close circle, and then I give back to them.
yeah, I've always found it more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have,
Means more.
yeah, a lot of people have called when you're truly sustainable, like a win-win is a
Mm-hmm.
pretty common term,
Yeah.
but they'll say like win times 30 because everybody's benefiting. You're benefiting, your environment's benefiting, your community's benefiting, the direct person that you're buying things from is benefiting. So it's everybody's benefiting from it. It's not just the two parties involved in it; it's everybody else that's also a part of it or touched by it somehow, some way,
Mm-hmm.
because it's better for everyone. Unless you sell plastic or you're a big box store, but
Right.
that's okay.
Right. Yeah. I think they're doing well enough right now as it is, and need to take a step back, and they needed to also reevaluate what they're doing,
Right.
and because they're making a huge impact on everybody. So.
And we're starting to see those things change where you can go into even the biggest stores like Walmart and Lowe's, and you're starting to see changes about what the products are.
Hmm.
We have one restaurant in town that does the compostable takeaway.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Everybody else is still using styrofoam.
Hmm.
A little bit of education, and I think more people will switch,
Hmm.
and they can see. A lot of people are concerned about the cost of the material
Hmm.
because it might cost more than styrofoam.
Hmm.
But where I have this unique ability is I can go in and say, okay, listen, let's look at what you have. Let's look at what's in your dumpster,
Hmm.
and let's do composting. Because composting, I've kind of ran that into the ground the last couple of weeks on social media. Everybody's
Hmm.
like, hey, when's recycling? What are we
Right.
going to do? I was like, start with compost.
Right.
Start with compost. Start with compost. And there's a bunch of reasons as to why, but compost is the natural way of recycling.
Hmm.
It it's 100% recycling. It's nature's way of recycling. You can watch it happen in a forest, on a
Right.
farm, in a garden, wherever you want to do it. You can watch compost happen, and you can do it in so many different ways, from the tumblers to open air places, to just letting chickens have it. So like some of our food waste we give to our chickens, some of the food waste we give to our compost bin, and we just let the process work, and we see what the chickens like or what the
Hmm.
compost bin and what works well. And th- the compost is key, and for so many other reasons. But you can put other things in there, like clean cardboard
Hmm.
and newspapers and dry paper, as long as it's not plastic or have like bad ink on it and things like that. All that material you can add to your compost, and then benefit everything else from it. So you don't have to produce a lot of waste. On
Hmm.
average, our customers produce, like an average household that we pick up produces about 45 pounds of trash every week. That's what's in one of our trash cans,
Hmm.
and so that's what we expect. But we can drop that number down by just switching what's in there.
Hmm.
So that's one thing that we started doing a few years ago. We seen all of the things that we were putting in landfills that didn't need to be landfilled, but just people didn't want them anymore. And so that's where our hub store came from. Are you familiar with that?
Mm-mm.
So that's on the other side of this building. We can
Okay.
actually walk over there when we're done here, and I can show it to you.
I think I parked next to
Okay.
it.
Um,
Now that you say that.
yeah. And so what that is we allow our customers, and next week we should be launching our pickup service, so that we're actually will be able to go out, pick up people's donations, and then bring them back to our facility.
Yeah.
But what this is we take things that don't need to be landfilled, but people don't want,
Mm-hmm.
because that's all we do. We pick up things that people don't want, and we find somewhere that we can take it to.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're doing, or what we were doing, is we're picking up couches and clothes and toys and mattresses just because somebody doesn't want it. Not
Mm-hmm.
because it's bad, not because it can't be used anymore, but because this person got a new one and they don't need their old one anymore.
Right.
And they don't want to deal with trying to fight on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or online selling for $20 of
Mm-hmm.
this material. They'd rather just get rid of it. And so we actually had some employees here, and they're like, "Hey, can we start like a coat drive?" And so that's where it started, and then we expanded from there. And so now it's turned into a whole store that people bring whatever they don't want anymore, and they can donate it here. Household items, kitchen items, personal items, food, non-perishable food. Uh, Clothing is a huge item, books, movies, that kind of stuff. And it sets over there, and it's completely free.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody walks in, if they want it, they take it.
Oh, that's
That's it.
awesome. Wow.
And there's
Just
like,
trying to find a home.
yeah, well, that's the thing. We're just trying to recycle it. So again, we're taking something that's devalued because this person wants it out of their house. How can I recycle it? Well, I got to add value to it. How can I add value to this? Cheaply, easily, right? Well, if somebody wants this, it's instantly valuable to them.
Hmm.
So that's all we have to do. We just have to find somebody that wants it. And now you just created its value back into the market. So we take, a couch that somebody doesn't want, and we might charge $20 to come get it, our time, our labor. We bring it back to our store.
Mm-hmm.
It sits here for 30 minutes, and then it goes home to a new family
Right.
that maybe they don't have a couch,
Right.
and they've been sitting on the floor for 2 months in their new apartment, or longer, or their couch broke, and they just
Right.
are not able to afford a new one. Our landfills are filled with stuff that has no business being there.
Mm-hmm.
For a
Yeah, it's
bunch,
perfectly good.
yeah.
It's just
So let's take what's good,
something.
and let's um let's give it back to just people that need it. Why not give away the stuff that people don't want to people that need it? All I am is a hauling company, so I come get it from the people that don't want it,
Mm-hmm.
bring it back here. This is my drop-off site instead of the transfer station or the landfill. I'm bringing it back to our store,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're giving it away, and we're helping people all along. And right now we're averaging like 50 to 70 people per day in that store. So we're helping thousands and thousands of people
Mm-hmm.
a year. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
And,
That's a great concept too, because you're not, necessarily making your big money off of it. You're just helping people out and, getting that, like you said, doesn't have value and now it does.
right. And so I might be able to pick it up, something that might cost me $30 to pick up and dispose of at a landfill.
Mm-hmm.
I can pick up for $20,
Mm-hmm.
cover my cost, but then give it away to people.
Right.
So it's like I can lower the cost of our services
Mm-hmm.
and benefit people,
Right.
in the meantime. So that's what we have now. We opened it. It actually got too popular. It overwhelmed our office because our customer service office was over there.
Mm.
And so you actually had to walk through our customer service office to get into the store. And you start getting 60 people walking through,
For
and we're dealing with
sure.
hundreds of phone calls. It's like, this isn't working.
Yeah.
So close it down, stop. Now we've moved the offices to this side, section that side off from the rest of our shop, and now we're reopening that. So we did that in April, I think, and it has been so successful since then that now we're looking at moving it to a new building. It's a few thousand, 4 or 5 thousand square feet, and we're going to be able to do a couple of different phases of the hub because right now we just have like the free store.
Mm-hmm.
But I envision this thing being much bigger and greater than it is. So I plan on doing, if we can find a spot that works, we're going to do edible food diversion. That's kind of the kickoff for composting. Is we're going to take food from markets, restaurants, that kind of stuff. This is their kitchen waste. Hasn't been served to anybody,
Mm-hmm.
but um, it's still edible, but like they're not going to serve it.
Right.
So this is end of shift. This is okay. We make fries. They sit here for 30 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
or and I don't know what the
Right.
timeline is, but most restaurants have a stage or a bulk item that sits there for so long. They serve it for so long, and then they switch it out with something new,
Mm-hmm.
and then whatever's left in the old one they just throw away. So how can we capture that stuff that is a lower grade than what these places want to sell to their customers, but it's 100% edible? It does not need to be in a dumpster.
Right.
Food in a dumpster causes a bunch of other problems that your recyclables and your trash is now really worthless because it's contaminated with food. You
Mm-hmm.
can't, I mean, you can't clean it. Like you can't clean paper. Uh, if there was spaghetti on top of this,
Mm-hmm.
well, you're not getting the paper value back out.
Right.
So how can we prevent the spaghetti from getting on top of that? Don't put it in a dumpster. So if we can get the edible food out, let's give that to people in need also, because there's plenty of those people.
For sure.
1 in 7 people in this country do not know where their next meal is coming from, so that's labeled as food insecure. Our county is right in line with that, and 40% of our food that we grow and raise here never reaches a table, never gets served. Almost 50%. It's
Wow.
40% of it. So it's like there's a huge gap. Let's fix this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to go back to the same markets and say, okay, now let's do your compost, your actual food waste that nobody's going to eat, right? Nobody wants, but should not be in a dumpster. We need to pick this stuff up separately.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a local composter, BFC Composting, down at Perryville. If you go down like T Highway right here, they're down that way. And so we're working with them on how is it going to look to set up a compost collection. So I want to start with the big markets because you got to be profitable when you run routes, and then dive it down into residential collection. So hopefully we can get most people backyard composting, and then if people can't or really don't want to, then we can start a compost collection
Mm-hmm.
that we will come by probably once a week and pick up your compost. Instead of out of your trash, we'll pick it up separately
Right.
and then haul that out. And so that is, the big process for compost, and hopefully how I can take my knowledge and the public interest of, hey, we want to recycle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, but the way you think it's going to work is not the way it's going to work. So
Right.
let's do it this way.
Yeah, because I mean, if they understood that, hey, your stuff's not actually being recycled, even though I'm picking it up, it's not going anywhere and it's not being recycled in the way that you think or would like for it to be. But here are some other solutions of things that we can reduce waste,
Right.
And it'll give you maybe that same good feeling or better,
Should be better.
Yeah, like I mean, for me, I didn't start out like this. This was something that I evolved and will continue, who knows where I'll be next year or something. And I just have I get really excited about it. And I'm very passionate about what I do and talking to other people about it. And I feel like it rubs off on other people. Like, example, my husband, he brings his own coffee cup to work. He's got one of those Yetis. And now his coworker, he started bringing in his own cup, reusable cup now for his coffee rather than using a paper cup that they had there. Or for water, you can use for water too. And so it's like, if you kind of like you start small and then
Ripple effect.
Yeah. And then other people are going to see your influence, and then you're going to see those changes that you start making within your own life. And then that's going to get you kind of excited, and you're going to feel good about making a positive change. And then you'll maybe try something else and see what more can I do. And then just go from there. Like, within my own life, again, like, okay, what do I not need plastic? What are ways that I can get rid of plastic in my life? And the one big thing for me was the bags, the reusable bags. I also don't bag my produce. There's no need for it. Sure, I guess it's organizational and stuff like that, but you're gonna wash your stuff anyways.
Right.
And so I don't.
So you
use
don't buy the
those.
bananas that have plastic, like literally at the grocery store. One of the grocery stores here will sell you bananas in a styrofoam container with plastic wrap on the top, and it's just like, that's a banana.
Right.
It has built-in packaging. What are we doing?
Right.
What are we doing, man?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't buy those bananas. The ones I have bought, they have like the tape around them.
Right. Now that I can live
Yeah,
with.
I'm like,
That that's it.
but yeah, I mean, I've not seen that, but yeah, sometimes I have seen it. Or like, for me, I won't buy the corn on the cob that's in the plastic wrap, like you're kind of
Right.
talking. I'm just gonna go get the regular corn, and I'll shuck it
Right.
myself.
Right. It's built in. Like I don't understand.
Right. And like tomatoes, broccoli, whatever. And so that's been one way. Or like I will buy things that are in a jar or a can versus if they're in a plastic container. I will buy a different product. And like if there are some things that no, I absolutely have to have this, then that's fine. But
Hmm.
if there are areas that you are more flexible, okay, well, let's try to find an alternative. Then, try to use that better alternative. Like I've gone a lot with glass jars with my baby food. I've tried to make my, sometimes make my own, but I get the glass baby jars as well. Versus they have, the plastic ones or pasta, or like, any sort of sauce or something,
Right.
pickles, whatever. If it's in glass, I will buy the glass over the plastics. I was trying to think. Oh, so one thing I just wanted to say too is that because of the diapers with a baby now, oh my God, like so much trash. Like it drove
Hmm.
me crazy. Like I started out with cloth diapers. I'm like, wow, this is really hard. And like I did that for a while, like just baby at home. I can do it. It's fine. But like, going out and about, I don't want to have to be hauling that cloth diaper around. And so like, if somebody cloth diapers all the time, more power to them. I think that's awesome. But for me, didn't work out so great. So I was looking for alternatives because one, creates so much waste.
Yeah.
And then two, they take super, super, super long time to break down in the
Hmm.
landfill. And so I found a brand that is bamboo diapers. And so they claim that it takes 50 days for the diaper to break down.
What's that
And
brand name? Do you have it?
it's called diaper. It's just called diaper, but it's DYPER.
Okay.
And so it's a like subscription, monthly subscription, and they send you like, X amount of diapers, and it varies on the size of your child. And so you'll like select whatever size, and then they send you the diapers. And then what's super cool too is that if you run out short of your monthly subscription, you can just like email them real quick, and then they send it out in like 2 days. They like send it out super fast. So if you like say, oh my God, I only have 20 diapers left, you email them and they send you diapers to get you through the rest of your time frame, no charge.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And also, so what they do is they purchase like carbon, like some sort of carbon certificate.
Carbon credits.
Carbon credits,
Hmm.
yeah. And so with each subscription, they purchase one. So every month they're purchasing a new one to offset the carbon emission that I guess that it takes to produce the diapers that you're consuming. So and they send you the certificate number or whatever. So I mean that alone is a pretty cool thing that they're doing. But I just like that I'm using these bamboo diapers, and bamboo is, like I guess it reproduces super fast, so it's a
Yeah, bamboo is very
renewable source.
sustainable.
And they even have wipes, and they're unscented, so they're great for that if you have sensitive babies. And they're super super duper absorbent. Like that's one thing I've really come to find out because like I tried another brand that was supposed to be better for environment, and it was okay, but it wasn't as absorbent as I thought. And it was just like it still is just about being cute, which is super cute, but your baby's cute
Right.
anyways. So like these diapers are super plain. They're just white. They're basic. But they're great. They're great diapers. And so that was one way that I could reduce, even though I'm still having to produce those diapers. Like I feel better about
Right.
what it's made out of, and that it won't. I don't know. They say it takes like 500 years. I don't know if that's true about diapers,
Well,
but
nobody's
that's
thrown one in a landfill for 500
right.
years and
Yeah,
washed it.
yeah. So I don't know where they're coming.
Yeah. I.
But still, long time.
Yeah.
Because it's made out of synthetic fibers and everything anyway. So I guess there's plastic in there too.
A bunch of plastic. Diapers are really bad.
Yeah.
The manufacturing process is pretty rough. There's so many of those things that just are little details, but that are easy to change. And once you
Hmm.
change them, your impact is totally different. I remember I watched a guy on YouTube that was a permaculture farmer, and what he started out just trying to reduce his impact. He's like, I'm just trying to reduce the footprint I'm leaving because I'm realizing that I'm causing carbon issues for the next generation. I'm causing resource issues for the next generation. Like, I just want to reduce how much I'm affecting them negatively.
Mm-hmm.
And so he reduced, and then started doing permaculture farming. And then it kind of turned that he was like, man, I was trying to reduce my impact. Now I'm positive. My impact is positive. It's not a negative impact.
Mm-hmm.
I'm, he had some property. He's like, my soil has increased 2 inches in the 5 years that I've been here. I've added 2 inches of topsoil, and then we're at, a 20% organic matter content, and then you can calculate how much your topsoil can hold of carbon. He's like, so I've now built my topsoil up to hold more carbon than I will ever create in my entire life. He's like,
Hmm.
so I'm positive. My impact is now positive. He's like, so I started this mission decreasing my impact. Now I'm actually trying to increase my impact because I
Right.
turned my impact into
Right.
positive instead of negative. He's like, so I'm doing as much as I can.
That's amazing.
And so it's just like, I think some people look at it kind of daunting, like you got to change all of these things about you,
Right.
or about your habits. But once you do it, it's actually better and you're happier.
Right, right, because you feel good about what you're doing because again, it is positive impact that you're having now versus just negative. And it doesn't have to be, all at once. People may think, "Oh my God, I have to do like all this," and it can be overwhelming. Then they're like, "Well, I know I'm not going to do it."
Right.
There were people like that with the recycling. Once it changed, they're like, "Well, I don't even want to do it now because I don't even know what I'm supposed to recycle, and I don't understand." So like, well, I'm just not going to recycle anything now. But it's like if you just start with a few things,
Right.
start simple, and then make that'll be positive. Whatever little bit that you do will make a difference, and then you of course influence with other people if you can do that too. But then maybe you'll continue to grow and and be like that guy. And now
Right.
you're just creating positive impact. That's the goal.
Well, and I just know that there's like myself, even living in town, the benefit of having a garden, just a few garden plants, the compost bin, and then the chickens. It's just like, man, this is easy. It is simpler. It
Hmm.
is. I enjoy going to my garden. It is not a burden to
Hmm.
plant my own tomatoes. I enjoy doing that,
Yeah,
and I enjoy taking care of them.
loved it.
My chickens are not a burden. I like moving them around the backyard. We have a chicken tractor, so they can move and peck and eat fresh grass every day, and eat bugs and scratch and do all their other stuff. But I move them so they don't tear up the yard.
Right.
And then they get some of our food scraps, and then our compost bin gets the other one. And I know, like this year, man, we had all kinds of stuff just growing out of our compost bin.
Hmm.
It just, because seeds from last year, they stay there, and then this year they just start growing. I got a tomato plant right now
Yeah.
that's about to start producing tomatoes late in the season. But the compost bin, gives off some heat, so I've had tomatoes grow in compost like late into the season, into
Yeah.
October, and things like that. So
Awesome.
it's once you make the changes, it's nice.
Right. And like for me, once I didn't have that compost, whenever we moved, like I felt kind of lost. Like I felt sick to my stomach throwing my stuff in the trash. I'm like, oh my God. Like it's so bad. Because I was so used to doing it the
Right.
other way, or, um, I guess that was the main thing. But then like not having my garden there really makes me sad because I would even go and put my coffee grounds in my garden too,
Mm-hmm.
like to change the nutrients if it needed it. But you can put your coffee grounds, in your compost
Right.
too. Um, but I don't know. It's just like not having those things now. I feel like I've kind of lost something. So I really want to get back to it. And those were not things when I lived in Missouri all my life. And then in 2015, I moved to Oregon. Um, and so I didn't do those things before. I never grew up with a vegetable garden or anything. And I had never composted. So I was new to it, but then it became part of my life, and then I felt like something was missing when I didn't have it anymore. Instead of like getting the loofahs, like the little plastic loofahs,
Mm-hmm.
um I use wash rags.
Okay.
I'm like back to that. I also like I do like the sponges that I wash my dishes with, but I get the ones that you can wash
Okay.
and reuse several times. So I like
What
that.
about natural sponges? Have you ever tried those?
I haven't.
Because I've used a few of those. I like them.
Yeah, like for dishes or for your bath
Uh,
shower. I should say.
yeah,
Shower.
shower.
Shower. Yeah.
There's got to be some for dishes, I'm sure, but I don't think I've ever
Yeah.
tried
I
them.
just didn't. Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't know if
yeah.
they had them for that, but I haven't. I just went back because I started using bar soap again. I've been using bar soap for several years now, and I mean, I like it.
I use bar soap and
Uh,
bar shampoo
Me too.
that I buy locally. I
Oh
buy
yeah.
it from Farmers Market.
Okay.
Yep.
I haven't. So I started using bar shampoo like last year, I
Okay.
guess, and I get it from Lush. But I didn't know that there was like maybe local. That's
Yeah.
pretty neat.
There's, I think, 3 people at the farmers market, like every Saturday, that sell it.
Yeah.
And so I use a bar shampoo, bar soap, and then shaving. I use a safety razor, so I make up my own shaving cream. And so
Okay,
there's
so
just
like the
like
straight ones
it's not a straight
no, not
razor.
okay.
It's it's basically a razor blade, so double sided, and then it sets down in this thing and clamps it down. But there's a guard on it, so it's not like
Okay.
a straight razor. You can just
Okay.
like cut
Not
yourself.
quite. Okay.
Um, but you don't have to throw away the whole head. You just dispose of the razor blade, which is metal anyway, so you can recycle that.
Okay.
So like I've had the actual razor for years. I've had the cup for years, and I just drop a piece of soap in it, and then I have a brush. I just put a little water on the brush, and then mix it up and put
Right
it on,
on.
and shave up. So I mean, I bought that soap last year, and I'm still on, which I don't shave my whole face, just a little bit.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I'm still only halfway through that bar,
That's awesome.
and so the other piece is still sitting there. So it's
Yeah.
like I get 6, 7 months.
Oh, I feel definitely with like my bar shampoo, which I'm not, I don't shave, or don't shave, I don't shave my hair every day. I don't wash my hair every day,
Right.
which is better anyways, but that's, go maybe every 2 days you wash your hair, and that shampoo will last me several months. And then a bar of soap between my husband and I, we use it, maybe two to probably 2.5 months, I would say, because I get like a big bar.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just
It's so much easier, and that's what the lady that I buy it from. She wraps it. You sometimes in like a saran wrap. I wish I could do without that.
yeah.
Because some of it is in a cardboard, just like a slider. It's like a paper cardboard slider. So I'm like, well, this is better.
Right.
But she also, the specific lady, she actually makes reusable shopping bags out of feed bags. So
Okay.
she has like animals, pets, stuff like that. And so the feed bag she takes, sews, puts handles on, and actually makes reusable shopping bags out of them.
That's very
So I'm
cool.
like, listen, I'll deal with a little bit of saran wrap
Uh-huh.
if you can do this. You know,
Yeah.
you're doing everything else right, so we're fine.
That's awesome. I have a bag out in my car that I think a friend gave it to me, and it looks like it's made out of like a feed bag or like a coffee bag. You
Hmm.
ever like seen what coffee beans come in? It's like that really rough material. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying about the saran wrap. So like I'll even like, okay, I'm gonna go get this one because it's not wrapped in that. And then actually like my last order with Lush, it came with those like peanuts that dissolve in water, and it was like paper. It was like there was no plastic in my package when it arrived, and I was really happy about that. Like
That's awesome.
I got excited. I get
Well,
excited when I see that because, like, to me, it makes a difference,
hmm
and especially because now I don't have to figure out what to do with it.
yeah, there's no
They bring
packaging.
me styrofoam and something. I'm like, well, now what am I going to do with this? Because I want to try to reuse it.
Right. Well, and that's what I try to tell people. Like, you're not looking at it. Like, people that don't concern themselves with what they're purchasing and what they have, and they're not responding that way. It's like, that's because you don't consider it your responsibility.
Right. Yeah.
You are generating a waste stream that you're asking, me as your waste hauler. If I have my own facility, or if I take it to another facility, you're asking the facility, you're asking a manufacturer, you're asking all these people to do this stuff because of what you're buying and what you're purchasing. And then, you're not willing to pay any more for it comparable to the person that's only giving you the most recyclable material. Um, and I think that's one of the piece is that's kind of broken in America is everything's just priced basically per pickup at this point.
Mm.
And that's the only way people look at the cost of trash. So it doesn't matter if that bin is completely recyclable or if that bin is completely landfilled.
Mm-hmm.
Customers kind of want the same price for everybody.
Right.
And especially when you get into closed markets, like where you only have one hauler for like the entire city.
Mm-hmm.
When you do that, what people concern themselves with is price. So they want the cheapest.
Mm-hmm.
The cheapest cannot be the best. The cheapest cannot be the most customizable. So when you're locked into a contract, as a hauler, when you're locked into a contract, I have a fixed price. I've serviced this many customers, and this is the amount of money I'm getting paid. The only way I can increase my performance of my business is to cut expenses. So I'm not incentivized with a free market. With a free market, when you're in business, you make your business stand out and you make more money by getting ahead of your competition. How can I bring something to market that my competitors aren't? How can I get my customers to be more loyal to me, or how can I attract new customers? So you're encouraged to innovate, create,
Mm-hmm.
and come up with solutions that don't exist. But when you have a contract and you're just trying to make money, then you have to cut expenses. So the cheaper you can do it for, the better performing your business is. And so you're not trying to innovate, you're not trying to create, you're not trying to solve problems, you're trying to reduce the cost of solving the problems that you've been given.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't like closed markets. I don't like when cities go to one hauler. I don't like those things. Also, I've lost every bid I've ever been in, not because I wasn't the cheapest, but yeah, I've lost 4 major bids being the cheapest, providing more services than anybody else. And so it's just like, I'm not dealing with that stuff.
Right.
And I don't get my business across. I can't bring in my freedom from waste mission and say, let's do composting, let's do this, let's do that, and then let customers pick and choose what services they want.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're kind of like, you have to start that way because people do need, to get rid of their waste, but it's like your vision is more than just that.
Right.
You're trying to get them to learn how not to have waste or to reduce that waste. And that's, maybe not the easiest or, like you said, the cheapest route, but it's the better route.
Like the people have told me, so you want to teach people, because, I've changed the name from Freedom Waste to Freedom from Waste because I want to be a sustainability company, not just a hauling company.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are like, so what are you trying to do? Are you trying to eliminate waste? And I'm like, well, I think I would be the best trash man in the entire world if I could solve the world's waste problems.
Make it disappear.
And they're like, so you're just going to like eliminate the need for you? And I'm like, if I can solve the world's waste problems, I will not have to worry about a paycheck. I will not have to worry
Right.
about money.
And there will be always something different. Something would branch off of that, like, continuing to do composting.
Well, it would take the rest of my life to solve the world's waste problems anyway.
For sure, yeah. You're like, I got enough work. I'm good.
Yeah. Even if I eliminate my position, it's going to take the rest of my working years to do it. So
and
I'm
it
fine.
would be, jeez. I mean,
It
we
would be
could
a
dream.
better problem.
Yeah, that would be a better problem to have.
Well, I was a trash man, but I've picked it all up, and there is no more. So I got to
Right?
find something else to
Wow.
do. Yeah, definitely would not be an issue.
No.
All right. I know we went kind of over time, surprisingly, a little bit here.
Yeah. I don't even know.
Yeah. Do you have anything else that you'd like to cover?
Let's see. I think I kind of went over just about everything that I had wrote down here, like what were my main, I guess, things that I do at home and within my life. Yeah. And then I just talked about like why I wanted to start, recycling, why I kind of have gone down this path, just because I think that I should do my best to, reduce my footprint on the earth, and my life goal would be to leave it better than I came into it. And so that is something that I'm passionate about in other avenues as well. But this is something that I can specifically control, what I take in and what I put out.
Right.
and just being able to find different ways to do that. I'm always searching for something different. Um, yeah, so I'm just kind of like seeing where that takes me, and just talking to people about it along the way,
Well,
trying to get them on board.
I think that's awesome, and that's why I asked you to come in and not like you can like, hey, just enlighten me a little bit. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I would love to hear like your side of it, and why are you passionate, and why are you searching for so many answers? And I'm trying to make myself available to more and more people in the community like that, and saying, okay, come on in, let's talk about this, because the same questions you have and the same ideas you have,
Mm-hmm.
everybody else has, or they need to hear solutions. They need to hear how good it is to have that compost bin in the backyard,
Mm-hmm.
or getting those, garden vegetables, or using the water bottle, and then kind of seeing that ripple effect and watching your life kind of change and your waste stream change, and watch a trash can go from, man, I think we need a second one every week, to
Mm-hmm.
this thing's only halfway full. You got a smaller option?
Right. Well, that's for myself. So like where we were before, our trash pickup was every 2 weeks. And there were a few times between, our recycling efforts and composting, and then just trying to, reuse some of the things that if I could reuse it, I would. Every 2 weeks we got down, there was a few times where we only had one bag of trash for 2 weeks.
That's awesome.
And we had 3 people living in the house, 3 adults living in the house at that time. So that was really cool. Like everybody joining their efforts and doing that. And then right now, like baby has changed a lot.
Yes.
And currently, and we just moved into a house, and we had to remodel it. It was in some rough condition and stuff. So like I have actually tried to have sold things that were in there so that they could go, have a new life, sell them for cheap rather than just taking into the dump.
Right.
Things that were still good. And so like right now I've accumulated more waste than I would like. And right now, like we've had like 2 bags of trash a week, and I'm like, oh my, this kills me. It kills me. It makes me sick. And so I'm like, okay, we got to go get another sprayer for the toilet so I can spray these cloth diapers. And I want to start using these cloth diapers more, and then just kind of going back to that, even though I have these other awesome diapers, they're still sitting in the trash.
Right.
And so I'm like, I want to get back down to just at least one bag of trash a week. And then we'll see where we go from that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then compost next year. I can't wait. Or no, actually, it doesn't even have to wait yet. That's the gardens next year. I'm going to get something set up. I'm not sure yet because I have a tiny little yard, so I got to figure something out. But I definitely want to do it.
All right. Well, I think that's perfect. I think we can wrap up with
Okay.
that. Well, thank you so much for coming by and
Well,
doing
thank
this.
you, Kenny. I appreciate it. I mean, this turned into so much more than I expected, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It was a great conversation.